Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, November 13th. So welcome to our new moon in Scorpio day. Of course, we have the new moon in Scorpio popping off at 4:27:28, if you will, a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So many of us, of course, hopefully will be sleeping while this happens, if you're lucky enough to be sleeping these days. And if you're not, we're definitely going to feel a little bit different. This is the pivotal point in which we've been waiting for. This officially closes the door on eclipse energy. This is the launch point for everything that we've been building towards since about June or July of this past year. So of course, there is a whole astro forecast that I'm going to encourage you to take a listen to for the new moon in Scorpio. There is a moon guide that you can be downloading to do the shadow work to align with this particular event. And of course, take a listen to your November zodiac forecast to understand where this is taking place in your life first and foremost. So we do have the moon in Scorpio going void, of course, at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be shifting into that Sag energy at 9:24 p.m. So in typical lunar fashion, energy fashion, the Sag energy is always the light at the end of the very dark tunnel that is Scorpio energy. We peel back the hidden layers of truth within ourselves, within the world around us in the Scorpio energy. We do a deep dive in the shadow realm of ourselves. We examine the fragmented parts of self and we merge them, we unify them into a complete whole energy. We enter into the Sag energy as this new version of ourselves with a new truth, with a new mission, with a new purpose. The light now gives us the opportunity to see what it is that we were feeling our way through in the darkness through that Scorpio energy. And so that Sag energy, it's a mutable fire sign, which means that we're ready to kind of take action, to make moves, to push the boundaries of our emotions, of our thoughts, of our new truth, of our mission, of our purpose. We're ready to kind of jump into a new quest, a new adventure, and we're ready to get the party started. So of course, there's going to be a lot of emotional fluctuation taking place because of this new moon. It is the dark phase of the moon. There is no illumination in the sky, so we are very much having to rely on our intuition at this particular point in time. The shift is going to help us, but we are going to be in this new moon energy for a couple of days. We're definitely going to be feeling the peeling back, if you will, of the shadow selves in order to reveal this new light that the Sag energy is definitely going to give us a stage to actually bring out to play for a little bit of a minute. Now, there is a lot going on here today, 14 different aspects, 11 of them involving the moon. And of course, to examine the particular aspects popping off at the time of the peak potency of this new moon, you will have to download your moon guide to go through the highs and lows and everything in between. So we kick the day off with the moon in Scorpio energy, semi-squaring, creating a little bit of a tension point, a little bit of a conflict with Venus. Venus, of course, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She's in her rulership in Libran energy, but this isn't the typical Libra transit that we are used to. Mostly because, again, Venus has been kind of leading the charge in the rise of the dark and light feminine energy that we all need to be kind of balancing out within ourselves, and we are more in this warrior pose as she is the evening star, which means that we are ready to go to war to fight for what we believe in, what makes us happy, who it is that we love. So there is a lot of tension. There's a lot of, I'm going to say, conflicting emotions taking place, especially with the moon in Scorpio. We're doing a deep dive in the shadow realm of our thoughts, of our emotions. There's been a lot of change since June or July. Venus essentially pushing this major change, this major transformation in our soul selves, in our life force energy that's finally coming out to play under this new moon in Scorpio. This particular energy, this particular action is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, really put us in a situation to do a deep dive in our heart space to really kind of align with what and who needs to stay and needs to go. Again, 4:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon and the sun are going to come together in the Scorpio energy, giving us our new moon in Scorpio. Please, please, please go ahead, visit all those resources that I just rattled off at the beginning of this forecast. It is all put out there in order to help your individualized healing journey. Just about an hour-ish later, maybe a half hour-ish later, we have the moon directly opposing Uranus. And of course, Uranus, the great awakener himself, retrograde in this Taurus energy, sits across from the Scorpio energy. And this is definitely going to bring in a shock, a disruption to our emotions. Why? Because we need to change. We need to transform. We're getting activated and triggered in order to open up our heart space, open up our mind space to this new energy kind of coursing through our veins at this point. We have an awakening point that we need to be aligning with as we close the door on this eclipse energy and as we open door to this next karmic chapter. Mars is going to go ahead and make a positive interaction with Chiron. Mars, of course, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, and his rulership in the Scorpio energy, aggressively pushing for this change, this transformation in our inner realm, in our soul, in our spirit, in our life force energy. The Chiron energy, of course, retrograde in Aries energy, is the wounded healer that is definitely taking us on a deep dive within ourselves, examining the parts of ourselves that we're not so sure of, that we're not feeling so peachy keen in order to expose to the world. This is essentially where the identity crisis or identity transition has been stemming from. Mars and Chiron entering into this aspect, very positive interaction, if I do say so myself, is kind of pushing for an aggressive amount of healing, of growth, of change, of transformation, especially where perceiving ourselves, standing in our image, standing in our power is concerned. The moon is then going to interact with Chiron shortly thereafter, and lucky for us, this is another positive interaction, which means that the healing, the growth, the change, the transformation, the way that we're thinking and feeling and perceiving ourselves is changing in our emotional realm. The moon then goes ahead, conjuncts, comes up to, sits next to Mars. So obviously these three are kind of doing their own one-on-one interactions with each other in order to really push us into this new mood, into this new attitude, into this new warrior type of spirit that is hell-bent on making sure that we are moving forward, that we're on a new path for our passions, for our desires, where it is that the major change, the major transformation has taken place in our soul and in our spirit. This energy now wants to be expressed, which means that we essentially in our earthly meat suits are going to be changing our mood, our attitude, and how it is that we're showing up in the world in order to aggress ourselves on the path that we need to be on in order to actually reach our mission, our potential, our soul's purpose, and our inspirations, passions, and desires. The moon is then going to interact with the North Node in Aries, and not the nicest way. This is definitely going to have us kind of pausing on this inner morphing that we're going through, if you will, and stepping back and seeing where it is that the path that we're currently wanting to be on, where there's still some distance between where it is that we're at and where it is that we desire to be. It may be this particular interaction that actually knocks us off of our empowerment horse, so to speak, and takes us on a deep dive into the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that we actually have at this particular point as we are closing the door on the old and we are kind of opening up the door, if you will, to the new. Maybe we're not feeling so prepared. Maybe we're still confused. Maybe we still have some inner empowerment work to do. Regardless, there is this illumination on where it is that we're not feeling aligned, where we're not feeling ready. The sun in Scorpio energy going to sit across from, directly oppose Uranus, the great awakener who is retrograde in this Taurus energy. Now, there's been a lot of interactions with Uranus because, of course, sitting in Taurus energy, us being in Scorpio season, having all of these placements in Scorpio means that this is a choice point. The sun is our life force energy. It is shining a bright light in Scorpio energy on empowerment, on turning that pain into power, on turning the darkness into light, on where it is that there is a major shift, major change, major transformation taking place within ourselves. And therefore, the Uranian energy is kind of sending a lightning bolt into our highest form of our intellect in order for us to open up our mind to see where it is that we do need to kind of switch things up, change things up, what does need to be kind of transformed, if you will, in our belief system, in our perspective, in our understanding. This is awakening energy, and especially where it is retrograde in Taurus energy, it's an awakening to where in our physical realm we need to kind of be hands-on to make the changes and the transformations in our physical realm that have already been taking place in our inner realm. The moon is then going to trine Neptune. So Neptune, of course, is retrograde in its place of power in Pisces energy. This is some water on water action, and a trine allows a little bit of growth, a little bit of progress that doesn't require a whole lot of time, energy, and attention from us. So emotionally speaking, we are highly intuitive. We are downloading new visions, new dreams, new goals for us. We are tapping in to the spidey senses, let's say, in order to pick up on subtle energies that may not be in our materialistic realm, may not be coming right in front of our faces. Of course, Scorpio season is about picking up on the subtle energies, the hidden realm of truth. And because of that, we are definitely in a high potence energy to just have these realizations, to have these knowings, if you will, and especially where we are being downloaded with this new vision, this new goal, it is kind of revealing the karmic hand in which we've just been dealt through eclipse season. Venus is then going to interact with Uranus in not the nicest way. Venus, of course, in her place of power in this Libran energy, Uranus retrograde in Taurus energy, her other place of power. This is a shakeup, this is a wake up, this is a trigger and activation in our heart space. This is a heart activation. Again, please listen to the Ascension forecast for this week to understand the physical symptoms, the physical discomfort that we may be feeling when some of these situations, energetic situations, pop off. This would be one of them. Venus in this Libran energy trying so hard to kind of stay in the light and fluffy realm of what makes her happy, what she enjoys, where she feels safe, what it is that she wants to stabilize. But of course, Uranus energy does nothing but destabilize. Why? Because we need a wake up and a shake up in order to understand where it is that we've gotten too comfortable, where it is that we've been trying to stay in the shallow end, where a lot of our heart experiences are concerned. But of course, we're in Scorpio season, which requires us to go to the depths of that particular heart space. The Uranian energy is trying to wake us up to new perspectives, to new knowings, to aha moments, to epiphanies. And because Venus is involved, this is likely going to be a sudden shock to the system, a disruption, if you will. We have to expect the unexpected where a change of heart is concerned. The moon in Scorpio then going to sextile, beautiful interaction with Pluto. Pluto, of course, rules over the Scorpio season, rules over this new moon in Scorpio that we're sitting in. And Pluto, the great transformer himself, who's in Capricorn energy, is giving us a little bit of a wink, a little bit of a nudge, if you will, thumbs up on the major change, on the major transformation that's going on inside of us due to us bossing up and doing the hard work, which is the shadow work, to really, really examine and analyze where it is that our egoic programming still has a hold on us and our attempt to kind of squash that and allow our higher selves to lead. This is an intense emotion. This is a very almost obsessive type of thought, type of focus, type of feeling that comes over us. And it is empowering in a lot of ways because, again, we are rising as the Phoenix at this particular point in the Scorpio energy, which means that we are gaining a lot of perspective, a lot of information and details that was previously hidden from us because we were stuck in the lower levels of our thoughts, of our emotions. It's at this particular point in time, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that we are going to see the moon go void of course. We lock into that Sag energy, 9:24 p.m. and at 10:29 p.m. the moon in Sag energy going to get in the boxing ring, fight it out with Saturn. Saturn is the Lord of Karma. He is now direct in this Pisces energy. There is a forward momentum. There is a building, if you will. There is an alignment with a new discipline, a new willpower, a new vision, new goal that we want to build towards. The moon in Sag, again, just on its own, is very idealistic, flying high, wants to dream the biggest dream possible, super optimistic, super confident. Well, Saturn kicks in and pumps the brakes on that because the downside to the Sag energy is that we take it a little little bit too far in the unrealistic, unachievable realm. So Saturn's here to kind of pump the brakes, knock the wind out of our sails, kind of prevent us from reaching those highest heights in order for us to stay grounded, logical, practical enough to remind ourselves what the vision, what the dream, what the goal actually is, and to use a logical, practical framework on how it is that we're going to actually get there. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with the North Node in Aries. This definitely signifies to us that there is a lot of growth, there is a lot of progress going in this new direction. We're hopeful, there's new wishes, there's new visions, there's new spirit, new soul that we're working with essentially. This life force energy is excited to kind of, I'm going to say, jump on the unbeaten path, so to speak, really go on a new adventure, explore this new part of self, experiment with different life situations. This is an indicator that we are starting to see a path organically unfolding before us. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in Sagittarius energy, making a not so nice aspect with Chiron, the wounded healer, who is retrograde in this Aries energy. Now, again, this is a little bit of a just as we get a big vision, our ego programming starts to chop that up and instill a little bit of fear in us. That Chiron energy is exposing the wounds, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that we currently have about this great big vision, about this new quest, about this new path, about this new dream and goal that we are actively starting to move towards. This is a perfect example of taking one step forward, really aligning with our higher selves, feeling that empowerment energy, and then the dark forces creeping back in our mental plane, in our heart space, to really kind of create a situation where we start second guessing whether or not we have what it takes to actually move forward. So this is definitely going to expose, again, we're still in the new moon, there's still a darkness, there's still Scorpio energy bringing us down into the shadow, and this is going to be one of those times where we essentially have to dig very deep within our fears, doubts, and insecurities to realize what is actually holding us back from aligning with the vision and the dream that, of course, the Sagittarius energy wants us to achieve.